My dad works for a large corporation as a senior manager. You're not in your league at all. Murmurs started to fill the room. Everyone was remembering the good old days during our high school reunion. As we discussed marriage, employment, and even our favorite pastimes, laughter erupted. It was lighthearted and reminiscent of our high school years. James's remark, however, broke the calm atmosphere. I moved forward to provide one last warning to James. His self-centeredness has not altered in the slightest. After facing life's challenges as an adult, I'd assumed he would have grown up, but I was mistaken. I knew it was childish, therefore I had refrained from lowering myself to James's level until now. However, it is no longer the case. Now that I was an adult, I had earned the right to stand up to James. Why don't you call Dad and all the executives? Our old buddies fell silent when I spoke in a firm, foreign voice. Shall we cancel the overseas project we've been working on with your company? Larry is my name. I've moved out and have been living alone ever since I graduated from college. I've been married to my job for a few years now, which is a sad fact. I have no girlfriend, am 45, and am single. The men who work with me make an effort to lift my spirits by telling me things like, "You're still young, don't worry." But I simply hope someone would introduce me to a nice woman instead of feeling sorry for me. Our high school reunion is being held at a hotel today. I had intended to go to the salon to clean myself before this Sunday, but I abandoned the plan when my work phone rang. I sighed after I finished reading the email. Crap, I ended up being late for the reunion. As I entered, people made fun of me for being late. I fixed my suit, which was rumpled from my jogging, and apologized. Did you run here from the office? As she stated this, Sarah Parker offered me a drink of water. When I finally caught my breath, I swallowed it whole. Thank you, Sarah. You continue to be gorgeous. President Parker? What are you discussing? She looked at me as she answered. And look, your tie is crooked. Like she was worrying over a little sibling who was unable to dress himself, she straightened my tie. Big sis, I can tie my own tie. I laughed, feeling a little embarrassed. Shall I simply tighten it and give you a slight strangle? I was joking. I apologize. Everyone in the group started laughing. Our class had always been known for this type of lighthearted banter. In the past, Sarah was an outstanding president of the student council. She was among our grade's most attractive girls, and her allure hasn't diminished over time. A voice I prayed I could forget interrupted the pleasant environment we were experiencing. No wonder it's loud here. You're here. To be honest, I didn't think you would have the courage to attend. Although I expected James to be present, I wasn't prepared for him to get started right away. It's been a while, James. You seem pretty tired, man. Hey, Larry. You're still trapped at work after a big reunion, Yeah, the project I'm working on ran into some issues. James tried to show off like he was some big shot. If you were really any good at your job, you wouldn't be stuck working on the weekend. Jane sneered and looked to his little posse for approval. He talked as if I was responsible for the project's problems. I wanted to say something back, but it would be wild to ruin the mood, so I just laughed. But that only seemed to rile James up more. Pathetic. Just another pawn working like a dog. You'll never walk the elite path like me. You'll always be stuck taking orders. He kept laughing, though it was unclear what was so funny. Even his followers were looking uncomfortable. I sighed quietly. James's inability to read the room hadn't changed a bit. Oh yeah, Sarah's here today, isn't she? James shifted his attention to her. Sarah's slender shoulders tensed. Everyone knew that back in high school, James had relentlessly pursued her. He dashed her out several times, but she turned him down each time. With his good looks, James probably had never experienced rejection from women. That's why he couldn't forgive Sarah for turning him down. Unable to let it go, he even used his money and influence to drive away any men who showed interest in Sarah. So Sarah, I hear you got married." "Huh. Wait, really? You never told me," I blurted, surprised by the news. I hadn't known Sarah had gotten married. We've been friends since elementary school, so I just assumed she would have told me. Or was that my own arrogance? But Sarah looked incredibly uncomfortable. "How do you know that?" "My friend knows him too. Small world. Hard." James smirked with a knowing grin. Sensing something off, I glanced at Sarah. She was glaring at him, her brows furrowed. "And yeah, I know about the divorce too." Sarah's face twisted in sadness. Seeing that, I decided to step in. "What's the deal, James? You still have feelings for Sarah after all those rejections. I gotta say, you're more persistent than I thought." I casually moved in front of Sarah, and I felt her lightly tug on my sleeve. "Who rejected me? I've never been rejected. You're an idiot for believing her lies. Her ex left her because they couldn't have kids. He moved on, and boom, his new woman got pregnant right away. No use for a woman who can't have children, so she got tossed aside. James, there are some things you just don't say." I yelled, my voice filled with anger. Even some of the women in the group scolded him, but James just smirked, unfazed. I didn't care if he insulted me, but I couldn't tolerate him mocking Sarah like that. I didn't want to start a fight here, but James's words were filled with so much venom that I couldn't hold back anymore. I took a step toward him, but Sarah, standing behind me, pulled me back. When I turned to look at her, she had tears welling in her eyes and shook her head slowly. "It's the truth, so there's no point in getting angry. Just the fact that you're upset for me is enough. I'm okay." Sarah dabbed at the tears that were on the verge of falling with a handkerchief. Seeing her like that, I didn't know where to channel my anger. I've always been weak when Sarah cries. Normally so strong and composed, she never let herself cry in front of others. When things got tough and she needed to cry, she'd sneak up to the roof and cry in a quiet corner. I knew that, but all I could do was watch from afar, unable to do anything for her. Once I was sure she'd had stopped crying, I'd hand her a handkerchief, and she'd blow her nose into it with a big grin, laughing as if to cheer me up. Instead, that's just the kind of kind-hearted person she is. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. Do you need another handkerchief? Only if you don't mind it getting covered in snot. Even in a moment like this, Sarah could sense my unease and try to lift my spirits. She really was a kind-hearted woman. Just then, something cold splashed across my face. A few people gasped in surprise. I looked down and saw my suit stained with red wine. "Larry, quite the move you pulled there. You were ignoring me and getting all cozy with her." James sneered. I quickly glanced at Sarah to make sure nothing had spilled on her, relieved to see she was still dry. The crowd started to grow, and the area became more restless than before. "I'll buy you a new suit later, something way nicer than that boring one you're wearing. I guess you're still just a lowly employee, huh?" I looked down at my stained suit. It was a custom-made piece, far more expensive than any off-the-rack suit. Not only was James terrible at reading the room, but he clearly had no eye for quality either. He always boasted about his designer suits, but they honestly didn't suit him at all. His bright, flashy outfit looked like a desperate attempt to look young. I don't care about a suit. What's shocking is just how rude you've become. Spare me the poor man's pride. This is just a little entertainment. James laughed as he went to grab another drink. Larry, are you okay? Sarah, who had stopped crying, was now trying her best to dry off my wet suit. Some of the other girls helped too, but my white shirt was probably ruined beyond saving. I wasn't sure how clean my suit would be with dry cleaning. He's really getting out of hand. Making fun of Sarah like that was disgusting. With James out of sight for a moment, everyone started voicing their outrage. I tried to calm them down, knowing things could get worse if James overheard. Don't get too worked up. According to him, this is just for fun, right? I'll deal with him, so please stay out of it. I knew firsthand how much trouble he could cause if anyone else got involved, but the group's anger wasn't going to die down easily. And truthfully, I couldn't forgive what he'd said about Sarah either. Sarah, if I stick around, he's just going to get more obnoxious. Do you want to leave together? She thought for a moment before shaking her head. There's something I need to say to James. I didn't want to bring it up here, but I promised I would. She pulled out her phone and explained the situation to me. Just as she finished, James came back, clearly in high spirits. I glared at him without meaning to, which only made him smirk. What's that look for? Do you want me to pay for your suit? After all, I already told you I don't need it. What? Are you dying to buy me a suit? James's face twisted in annoyance, and then he glanced at my left hand. You're still not married. Being a low-level employee working weekends must mean you can't even get a girlfriend. That's pretty sad. His remark about my job rank sparked a reaction from those around us. Even his group of lackeys seemed disgusted, but James didn't care about the tension in the air. Landing a job like mine is basically rigged from the start. No matter how much regular folks kiss up, promotions, transfers, even getting fired, it all depends on the boss's mood. You wouldn't believe how many useless employees I've gotten rid of. As James bragged about his so-called achievements, he downed another drink, muttering cheap poos and clicking his tongue in disapproval. I couldn't help but be impressed, in a way, by that personality of his that just had to mock everything. I'm getting married soon, by the way. She's 21 and used to be a model. She is a little ditzy, but gorgeous enough to be worth it. You really shouldn't talk about your fiancé like that. No matter what you say, it's useless. You're just unlucky with women. This really is terrible booze. That wine earlier was at least drinkable. Why don't you go grab some more? After all, the entertainment isn't over yet. That's right. The real show was just beginning. I discreetly sent a message to someone as the reunion chatter continued. The teachers from each class were invited onto the stage one by one. The teachers took the microphone and shared their memories from back in the day. Every now and then, they added a funny anecdote, causing the crowd to burst into laughter. Even we forgot about the earlier tension and joined in the laughter. I still remember Larry's story from swimming class. Mr. Hayward, our class teacher, said, I stiffened and turned to look at him. Mr. Hayward smiled slightly. During the 25 meters crawl test, he swam the whole length without coming up for air. Hey, that's because I can't swim. What? Still can't swim? I'll lend you a kickboard from the school so you can practice. The room erupted with laughter. By the way, this whole exchange wasn't off the cuff. I'd suggested it earlier, and Mr. Hayward had played along. And yes, it's true. I still can't swim. Hey, is that what you were talking to Mr. Hayward about earlier? No comment, I said, flashing a smile. Sarah, though slightly exasperated, smiled back at me. I've always liked that about you, Larry. Ha! I let out a surprised, almost ridiculous-sounding yelp, and Sarah tried to stifle her laughter. What? You're joking, right? No comment, she replied, pressing her index finger to her lips. The gesture made my heart skip a beat. Just as Mr. Carter finished his speech, James suddenly jumped on stage. He snatched the microphone and stepped forward. The moment our eyes met, I had a bad feeling. Now, for tonight's special event, let's find Larry a girlfriend. If there's any girl out there willing to date this poor workaholic, please raise your hand. Oh, by the way, I've got a 21-year-old fiancé, so there's no point in raising your hand to be my girlfriend. He literally looked down at us as he spoke, so this was the entertainment he mentioned earlier. I glanced up at James, who had earned the eye of every woman in the room, and made my way onto the stage. Age, as you've just heard, I'm Larry, and yes, I'm looking for a girlfriend. Ladies, please feel free. I played along, making light of it, and the room erupted in laughter. It's my own goodwill to at least be a prelude to the story I'm about to tell. He clearly hadn't expected me to stand next to him. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the frustrated look on James's face. Oh, by the way, James might be needing a girlfriend soon too, so keep your eyes open, everyone. What the hell are you talking about? James growled, grabbing me by the collar. Gasps filled the room, and I raised a hand to calm everyone down. Then I glanced over at Sarah, signaling her. It seems like you didn't realize, James, but I work as a wedding planner at the venue where your wedding's set to take place. James' face paled instantly. I'm just one of the assistant planners, so we haven't spoken directly, but I've had a few conversations with your fiancé about the wedding. It turns out his fiancée had been growing suspicious of James, as they rarely spent time together due to his work, despite it being their wedding. James was completely uninterested whenever his fiancée asked for his opinion. He'd just say, "You can decide, do whatever you want." Feeling overwhelmed by pre-wedding jitters and the loneliness, she even cried in front of Sarah, questioning if James truly loved her. His fiancée asked me to find out how James really feels about her. She said she'd accept whatever he had to say, so I forwarded everything you said tonight to her. Sarah, how dare. James immediately pulled out his phone. He was probably calling his fiancée, but as the call failed to connect, panic began to show on his face. No matter how many times you try, it's pointless. I got a message from her earlier saying she wants to cancel the wedding. James slammed his phone to the floor, glaring at Sarah with a furious expression. It looks like your engagement fell through, James. Join me in the dating scene. He shoved me hard, causing me to stumble. The teachers moved to stop James, but I couldn't let him cause any harm to them. I shook my head, signaling them to stay back. James apologized to Sarah. What? She's the one who should apologize. She ruined my wedding. That woman was just after my money, so I don't want her anyway. He was always like this. James believed that flashing his wealth could make anyone do whatever he wanted, and after that, he would always follow it up with, "My dad's a senior manager at a big company." He never realized how much those words devalued his own worth. The successful one was his father, not him. James lived a privileged life thanks to his father, but he took it for granted. After today, I was done with him. I swore that to myself. Earlier, you bragged about firing all those useless employees, right? What about it? Do you really think those employees were incompetent? And are you even in a position to make those decisions? James faltered, unsure of how to respond. Just as I thought, James wasn't even close to having that kind of authority. He was only an assistant manager. There's no way he could handle something as serious as staffing decisions. The person with the power was his father, the head of HR. While it was questionable how much influence James could exert through his father, that was an internal issue at his company, not my concern. I made sure to get those who defied me fired by asking my dad. They're probably all jobless now. I was stunned he actually admitted to relying on his father to fire people. At 45 years old, he still needed his dad to fight his battles. It was embarrassing just to witness. I couldn't help but feel sorry for anyone working under someone like him. Larry, you'd better watch your mouth too. And what are you going to do about it? My dad's a senior manager at a major company. You're nothing compared to me. We don't live in the same world, so you better be careful how you talk to me. James's voice was thick with anger, but I just sighed deeply. His self-centered nature hadn't changed one bit. I had hoped that adulthood in the real world would have humbled him somewhat, but I was foolish to think that. Up until now, I had refrained from lowering myself to his level, thinking it was childish to respond in kind. But things were different now. As an adult with a position I'd earned myself, I could stand up to him. Go ahead, call your dad and all the executives. My voice was calm but firm, so much so that the room fell silent. What are you talking about? I'm saying this as the head of the overseas division at Oakwood Trading Company. I pulled out a business card from my holder and thrust it toward James. The room erupted in murmurs, and no wonder. Oakwood Trading Company is one of the top companies in the U.S. Including its subsidiaries, the group has a total of 20,000 employees. It's a name everyone recognizes. Larry, did you get another promotion? Your dad must be proud. It just worked out that way. My dad wants me to take over as CEO soon, but I'm still not ready. That's right. I'm the son of the CEO of Oakwood Trading Company. Our company operates as a family business, with my father as the CEO and my grandfather as the chairman. I've been groomed as the next CEO, studying business management for years. Originally, I was supposed to work directly under my father as his assistant, but I insisted on making my own achievements, so I took the regular recruitment exam and worked my way up to become the head of the overseas division. Of course, I didn't do it all on my own. While I worked incredibly hard, I was also lucky to have great colleagues and bosses. It's also a testament to the hiring standards my family has upheld for generations. Having ambition is not a bad thing. Wanting to work for a company that values you is fair, but that alone won't make you successful. What's the most important thing in work? This question is always asked during the final interview at our company. If you answer it wrong, no matter how talented you are, you won't be hired. What's essential in work? In the end, it all comes down to trust between people. Without trust, you can't achieve top performance in anything. That's the philosophy of our company. Wait, Larry's the heir to Oakwood Trading Company. Sarah, did you know about this? Yeah, we've known each other since elementary school. Yes, Sarah, my only friend since elementary school, knew about it, or rather, she figured it out on her own. She was the only one who noticed. Mistook them for stalkers and called the police. She even pulled the fire alarm and shouted for help. My father rushed to the police station as my legal guardian, while the useless bodyguards were reported by a grade schooler. And Sarah thought she was protecting me. I still vividly remember that day. I glanced at James. His mouth was hanging open as if he wanted to say something, but no words came out. Deciding that the entertainment had gone on long enough, I stepped down from the stage. By now, the company crisis should have been handled. I checked my watch, debating whether to leave. This can't be real. It's all lies. James's face was red with anger as he shouted, and I was beyond exasperated. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not, I said, but a notification chimed on my phone, and I frowned, sensing something bad. The message confirmed my suspicion, and I clicked my tongue in annoyance. I was annoyed that he had done something foolish. Stop stalling, just spit it out. The overseas project we've been working on with your company. Shall we cancel it and start from scratch? My sudden shift in tone left James speechless. The reason I was late to the reunion was because confidential information from the joint project with James's company had leaked. A secret merger was in the works, and the project with James's company was partly a test of their capabilities. Yet, despite this, a leak occurred. It was a major incident just when we thought we'd established a friendly relationship with them. The entire project team was called in, scrambling to find the cause. Chris, the leader on their side, quickly traced the source of the leaked data and promptly notified all the relevant parties. Although I, as the leader, should have been there to clean up the mess, Chris graciously took over my share of the work, saying I should enjoy my reunion. This morning, Chris from your company handled the issue with the project, I said, showing him the email on my work phone. As soon as James saw the authentic signature, his face went pale. It was clear that an emergency executive meeting would be held over this. The email didn't go into specifics, but hinted that there was a traitor within their company. Naturally, any project with such a company would be canceled. Rather than a merger, it would likely result in their company being absorbed and turned into a subsidiary. Mass layoffs were expected. I'll make sure this issue is thoroughly investigated. Trying to deceive our company won't go unpunished. After the layoffs, Let's see how many employees are left. As for you, James, you might want to ask your dad if you'll still have a job." James didn't even bother with a parting remark, storming out of the hall with long strides. His lackey exchanged glances, shrugged, and followed him out. At the time, I didn't know, but it turns out that the employees James had gotten his father to fire were later rehired by our company. Their skills and experience were top-notch, so much so that our HR department couldn't understand why they'd been let go in the first place. So what ended up happening with that project? A few days after that disastrous reunion, I invited Sarah out for dinner. Surprisingly, she had been living close to my apartment all this time. I regretted not inviting her out sooner. Of course, the project was scrapped, the trader was fired, and their leader Chris was demoted for failing to prevent the leak. As expected, their company was absorbed under the guise of a merger, becoming a subsidiary. James's company now officially belonged to ours, and with that, a massive round of layoffs occurred. Their president, Mr. Robert, took the opportunity to demote James's father, Nick, and James himself was promptly laid off. What about James's fiancée? Well, let's just say today's generation is pretty clever. Because of the timing of the wedding, they only had to pay 50% of the cancellation fees. "You're the one who called off the wedding. You should pay." "No way. This is all your fault. Why should I be the one to pay?" I heard that James's wedding plan was top tier, all because of his desire to show off. They had multiple outfit changes, which made it way more expensive than the average. Even the half-price fee was higher than an average wedding. Having just been laid off, James refused to pay. His fiancée, in turn, turned to Sarah for help, crying and pleading with her to fix the situation. "She's actually a fairly well-known fashion model." I said, "So we worked out a deal to have her sign on as our company's exclusive model to cover the costs." "Women can be scary," I said with a chuckle. Sarah grinned. "Watch out, Larry. You don't want to get tangled up with the wrong woman." "One troublesome woman is enough for me, thanks." "Well, how about getting tangled up with this troublesome woman?" I stared at Sarah wide-eyed. Once her words sank in, I could feel my face turning red. As for James, after being laid off, he managed to get a mid-level job at a small company. There he was treated just like his younger coworkers. Of course, his pride couldn't handle it, but his father was no longer around to protect him. Apparently, James' boss is a tough woman, and it seems like he's getting pushed hard every day. I've met her a few times, and I remember she had quite a strong personality. Whether James can survive or not, that's something he'll have to figure out on his own. Meanwhile, Sarah is sitting next to me, watching TV. Since then, we've gotten really close, and before I knew it, we were meeting up at least once a week. Isn't this basically dating? When I asked her that directly, she made an incredibly annoyed face. I'd never seen that expression before, and to this day, I still can't quite define what we are. A weird face? Couldn't you have found a better way to describe it? A weird face is a weird face, Sarah said unapologetically. I was a bit irritated, wondering who she thought was to blame for that. If you keep hanging out with me like this, you won't find a boyfriend, let alone get remarried. Then once again, Sarah gave me that same disgusted look, like she just stepped in dog poop. You know, Larry, you've always been like this. Even when a girl is clearly showing interest, you never notice. When did that ever happen to me? See? You still don't get it. I'm giving you all these signals, and you're talking about other guys. That's when it finally hit me. Sarah, I've liked you for a long time. You're so late. Silly. We quietly leaned in closer to each other.